Regency Rum Bluffers. We're just enjoying a morning cup of tea, and I finished tuning the square piano. So that means I'm in a position to play a really beautiful piece
Hang
of
on a minute. That's not right.
What is it?
It's not square.
Well, of course it's square. I mean, it's a very beautiful square. It's a Broadwood square. You know, it's the top of the range. Don't you remember? We've got the one
Oh
with all
dear.
the fat.
This is going to be difficult. Look, you're not of a mathematical disposition, are you?
No, I'm a musician.
But what's that?
It's a square.
Precisely. And what shape is that?
Well, it's a rectangle, isn't it?
QED.
So what you actually mean is, why is it called a square piano when the shape of it is a rectangle?
Precisely.
Well, that's because you don't understand German.
Eh? No, I don't. What's that got to do with it?
Well, it's a very important part of understanding why it's called a square piano.
Mm-hmm.
When they started making these lovely pianos in Germany, they realised that they weren't the same as the harpsichord, and they had to think of another name. And quer piano was what they came up with. Now in Germany, quer, I don't speak German, but this is what I understand. Quer means crosswise. So that's why they started calling them crosswise pianos.
So really, it shouldn't be called a square piano, it should be called a crosswise.
Yeah, it should. But the logic goes that in the harpsichord, when you're sitting to play a harpsichord, the strings go away from you like that.
Oh, it's the strings that go crosswise, is it?
Yeah. But in the square, when I'm tuning it, you can see that the strings start at this end and they go across to that end. So they go across the piano. You can actually find portraits of ladies playing one of these, and it says underneath, Lady at a quer piano. So that's what they were called. Then they came over to England, and a lot of them were made in England. And I think what happened was that the name quer piano just was translated, for want of a better word, as square because of the similarity in the sound. I don't think there's any more logic to it than that. But they're definitely square pianos. Definitely.
Hmm. So this is the pinnacle of piano design, is it?
Oh, well, that's a very, very debatable question. Of course, there is a big issue with the square piano.
What?
It's very, very delicate and very sensitive. So, when the weather is very wet, the wood expands, and when the weather is very dry, the wood contracts, which means that the strings go in and out of tune all the time. So, if there's a very, very hot day, the strings tighten. If there's a very, very wet day, the strings slacken. So you're kind of always in the middle of trying to keep it in tune. And I mean, I probably should tune it every single day, but it takes me a couple of hours. So I do it, when I want it to sound really, really super duper. And then the rest of the time, sometimes it does sound a bit.
Well, it's all very well. I mean, wood's bound to do that. Why don't you fill it with lots of cast iron so it won't move at all?
Well, funnily enough, I think that's something that's on the agenda for the piano manufacturers.
There you are then.
So I think eventually what we'll end up with is probably pianos with a great big frame full of iron. And then you won't have to tune it every day. Probably 6 monthly would be enough, which would be a big difference.
There you go. But,
So you think
will it sound any different?
I was going to say, do you think that's an improvement there?
I don't know.
It'll be an improvement in terms of timekeeping, but it's going to sound very different. So then, I wonder what it's going to be like. I wonder what it's going to be like in the future. Just imagine, say a tune like Malbrook, which is the one I was going to play that Sampieri's put into this lovely pastoral. He's put it in the middle. But I think in future it might even be known as For He's a Jolly Good Fellow. Now just imagine what 21st century ears will hear. So, let's find out what it actually sounds like on the square piano that it was written for.
I like that better, actually.
Did you?
Yeah.
Why not let us know in the comments? Thank you for watching. Bye.
Bye.